Ladies and gentlemen, are we recording?
Yep.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the October 25th, 2022 Tenino City Council work session. We have a budget workshop scheduled for this work session. And that is it. So, if everyone would join me in pulling out the document that looks like this. Okay. This, of course, is not a complete budget. Today, we just want to kind of look at the revenues. So the first 4 pages, I believe. Yeah. So the first 4 pages. We have before you the last 5 years of revenue that has come in. So if you look at it, it says actual, and then there's a column down. Actual means what actually came in for 2019, 2020. Some of you, this is new, but I'm sure Elaine knows what she's looking at. 2021 actual came in. 2021 what was budgeted, and so you have the actual and the budgeted. So those don't always meet up. You know, we do our best guess. Or it's more than a guess. We do our best estimates. We get our information based on history. We get our information based on contracts. We get our information based on what the state provides us or the AWC provides us with their projections or what's been decided by the legislature. We start out with taxes that come in. We're estimating next year's 2023 tax revenue to come in at about $321,192. That's based on if we accept the annual ad valorem tax levy that is going to be proposed at the next meeting, and there'll be two public hearings and 2 readings of that. If you look, you see every year it kind of gradually goes up. 2019 we brought in $255,000. 2020 it dropped down to $228,000. That was with the annexation of the city into the fire district. After the city, prior to that, the city had a contract. Most everyone knows this, but I'll just go through it. Prior to that, the city had a contract with the fire district, and the fire district provided fire service to the city through that contract, and we paid them as a part of that contract. We paid them what we would collect in fire protection taxes. So if you look at all the things that the city collect taxes for, public safety, roads, what have you, one of those things is fire protection. In 2020, through a vote of the people, the city was annexed into the district, and then that amount that could be levied for fire protection, we no longer would levy that. We give that authority over to the fire district. So that's why you would see that decrement from 2019 to 2020. 2021, we recovered essentially what we had lost. It ran up $278,000. So as property values go up, not necessarily the amount that we take from the taxpayers gets larger. The percentage essentially stays the same, but as values go up, our portion goes up alongside it. 2021 we estimated 278. 2021 we actually brought in 272. Here we are in 2022. We have estimated we'll bring in 308,000, and so far we have brought in 166,000. At the end of this month, we get another allotment of taxes. So all of our revenue has not come in yet for that portion. That is traditionally our biggest kind of pot of money. But as of recently, our sales tax has gone through the roof. So if you look at line 3, sales and use tax, that is the amount. That's the money that goes to the city every time you go buy a candy bar at Dave's Thriftway, or a hamburger at Beaver Den,
or online.
Yeah, and so as you look, you'll see that 2019, 2020. It was 272,000, 258,000, and then in 2021 it jumps up from 258 to 385,000, and that was a very large number. that was actually brought in, much larger than we budgeted, and that change, there was a change at the legislature made to where money that was spent through online sales, that sales tax through those purchases would be collected locally. So we didn't anticipate that in 2021. That was a huge windfall for us. You can see that we collected way more than anticipated, and we budgeted modestly in 2022 for I'm sorry, I'm reading that wrong. So we got much more. Our sales tax has gone through the roof that we collect because people are buying a lot more online. That's good for us. There's a lot of things that you can't actually buy in Tenino. If you want to buy a TV or if you want to buy a couch or something like that, you can't buy those at a store in Tenino. So when our residents shop on Amazon and they buy those things that aren't found in Tenino, we actually get the sales tax. So it's kind of a weird thing when people say buy local and shop local. We're actually, if we're buying on Amazon in Tenino, we're actually benefiting the city coffers. We are estimating that in 2023, we will bring in $380,000 in sales tax. That's quite a bit over what we would bring in property taxes that year. So we've gone far beyond what we're bringing in sales tax. It's not only the online retail sales. Our business community has really rolled its sleeves up, and they're doing amazing. If you look at our sales and use tax revenue over the last 10 years, like 10 years ago, we were bringing in like $80,000 in sales tax, and now we're bringing like $380,000 in sales tax. It's impressive. Our business community has responded. They have really stepped up, and they're doing great. So I commend them. And that just helps us pay for cops. It helps us pay for roads. It helps us, pay for our staff and sidewalks and street cleanings and all those things. Local criminal justice. This is one that we can't really estimate or anticipate. And so this one we will kind of average out the last couple of years and kind of do a low average. And we try and come up with some fairly conservative numbers so that we, at the end of the year, we actually bring in more than we anticipated. And if you look, we pretty much have done that every year. In 2021, we budgeted for $55,000, and we actually brought in $56,000. In 2022, we budgeted for $55,000, and with 2 months left, we have brought in $52,000. B&O taxes. This is something that was started, I want to say around 2013, and we've now got several years of data to where we can pretty consistently estimate our B&O taxes, water, utilities. Then you get down to licenses and permits. Some of these are like a Comcast franchise fee that comes in through a contract with Comcast. Same with Verizon. How do we determine how many new business licenses we'll get? It's just based on historic data. We don't expect a ton of new businesses, but we don't, so we're kind of, there's an in the middle. Building permits. We just did an average of the last 5 years, and we excluded 2020 because 2020 we had a whole bunch of building permits, more than we would normally anticipate. So we take that number out just because it's an outlier, and we come up with the number of 33,704. Intergovernmental revenue. So this is money that will come in from the state or the feds. This is data that we get from various sources like the AWC and Department of Revenue. There's nothing crazy in here. These are not final numbers. These are kind of where we're at. 2021, we had the ARPA funds coming in to the intergovernmental revenue. That was a big bump. the school, if you look on page 3, line 3, you'll see Tenino School District School Resource Officer. We anticipate, so this is through a contract with the school. We have increased through the contract the amount that the school is contributing from $20,000, give or take, to $50,000 a year. So that's going to allow us to spend more time in the schools and fund more of an officer. And then when we get into the expenditures, because we're offsetting some of the costs of this officer, we are going to ask to program in an additional officer. So you'll see that in the expense side. The code enforcement building inspector thing, that's a new revenue source. So we don't have a lot of historic data for that one, so we're still zeroing that in. Some of our things that we charge fees for, like ball fields, quarry house, renting the city hall out, all those things, it's hard for us to anticipate those costs, so we're gonna do our best. But with the lack of use over the last 2+ years due to the pandemic, it's hard for us to say what the normal behavior is going to be in the next year with regards to renting out things like for camping. And so we're going to be real careful there. But we know that with the renovations of the quarry house and the renovations at the pool, we know that it's going to increase revenue and it's going to make those more marketable. We just don't know how much. If anyone has any questions at any point, just butt right in. The food warehouse rental, that's based on a contract that we have with the food bank. Old Public Works building rental, that's a new source. It's a revenue that we have on paper, but we also allow in-kind services through those tenants, the stone carvers and the electrician. And we get a lot of work out of them. It's beneficial to us. But that's a new revenue source. One thing that Jen and I talked about, but I'm not seeing in here, is utility tax, septage receiving. If you look on page 1, this just dawned on me. Well, it's zeros. So on all, we have a utility tax on all septage receiving revenue. That's revenue that is made so the wastewater treatment plant is a proprietary entity. It is a standalone business that we own, essentially, and you can't make money. We can't make money charging utility fees and things like that with the sewer plant and then put it into the general fund. That is a no-no. We do not do that. But because we process everything, and there's a lot of administrative work that is done through the wastewater treatment plant, and especially through the septage receiving process, we have a 6% utility tax placed on all the revenue that comes in to the wastewater treatment plant. So we worked that out, and it was something like $45,000. Well, if we bring in $350, what's 6% of $350? So right now we're estimating we'll bring in around $350,000 in revenue next year at the wastewater treatment plant. So $21,000. So that's a number that is missing. So around $21K goes right there.
Utility tax, right?
Yeah, if you look, utility tax septic receiving, Yeah, so that should be 21,000, and that's an estimate. We're estimating we'll make about 350,000. We think when it is full bore running, we'll be around 500,000 a year that we'll be bringing in on that. We just want to stay a little more on the conservative side this year, just kicking it back off. Non-revenues, those are all money that comes in from the state. And those are fairly static. So this still has work to be done, but we're right around the 1.5 million in revenue that we're estimating. Somewhere around what we brought in last year. We did have some things that bumped it up a little last year. So we're still looking at this. This is a point where you guys can weigh in on what you think. If somebody's like, no, I think that there's going to be 40 new houses built next year and you're way off on your building permit estimates, let us know, and, we would make space for that discussion. You can take these home and you can continue on looking. The expenditure portion after that is still the wild, wild west. So don't put too much stock in those numbers. But Jen's got her dice and she's rolling out and coming up with numbers. The
magic 8 ball.
Yeah, the magic 8 ball. So nothing shocking, nothing scary. I think when it comes to expenditures, there's going to be some things that we want to accomplish that we're going to try to bring forward. We're going to try to propose 4% COLAs for the employees. That's, the CPI is something like 8%. But 4% is what I'm hearing a lot of other cities providing. We're looking at making some, cost adjustments to some of our department head salaries, just to try. We're trying to catch up to a lot of other communities. I'm going to propose that we bump up our step schedule. So that we have an additional step, and then we would drop off the bottom step, which nobody's on. So that would maybe affect 3 people in the city, but it would give us a better salary range when we're competing for jobs or trying to bring in prospective employees. The rate study is pretty much done, and you'll get a presentation from them hopefully next meeting, but they are recommending no rate increases at this point, so that we're really, really happy about that. I know when we had our last rate study done, they were recommending like 4% increases every year for like 5 years. So we have done something right to keep costs the same. If you look at anything out there right now, that the cost of anything has gone up in the last 3 years. A cost of milk, the cost of gas, the cost of all consumables have gone through the roof. We should be very proud that we're getting recommendations to not have to raise our utility tax prices or our utility fees. Anything else, Jen? Any other big to-dos or thoughts? We have our ongoing projects. Some of those are coming to a close. Some of those will continue into 2023. We are hoping to finish up the quarry house before 2023 and have that off our books. We should be done with the playground well before then and have that off our books. The pool will be underway. We can talk about that in my report. We've got a grant in requesting an additional patrol car. I don't want to jinx it and give up too much information, but we're feeling good about our chances. If that comes in, that would offset our, typically we'd be planning on replacing a patrol car in this budget. If we get that grant, we won't have to worry about that, which is nice. We would repurpose the chief's truck for code enforcement, which would mean we also wouldn't have to buy a new vehicle for code enforcement officer. We will be asking for one additional officer. We right now have an additional person on as a provisional. In our forthcoming budget expenditures, we will have an additional officer that we will permanently fund that provisional. And I have told Troy, if he gets the septage receiving operation back online by the end of the year, we will also propose 2 office operators in training at the wastewater treatment plant. He has told me we are a week away. It has been requested by the plant operator that we allow for some rain to come in, to go into the EQ basin and help dilute some of the solids that were excess and came off into the EQ basin during the dewatering process in the sludge removal. So those are our big things. Are there any questions about the budget expenditures so far? We have a budget meeting when? Tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So tomorrow at 1 o'clock, the budget committee, which is Councilmember Clam and Councilmember Godovac, will be meeting here to go over with a fine-tooth comb some of the budget proposals and the bank reconciliations and the current budget position. Look forward to that. With that said, we have 8 minutes left, and we can do the George Sharp Hour. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Chamber of Commerce report. We had a remarkable candidates forum last week, and I want to thank the council members and the mayor who attended that. It was good feedback. It was also covered by the Olympian. We are on the front page of the Sunday paper with the picture, the Chronicle, and the Tenino Independent. So it was a great turnout and feedback, but we appreciate your support showing up and being there as well. And then we are planning now for our next event, which is going to be a social on September 16th at 6 p.m. at Kodiak Room. November, sorry. What did I say, September? Yeah, passed by. November 16th at 6 o'clock. And the council's invited to attend that. That's for business community and then members of the chambers to come together and meet. And then we're planning the holiday market, which is a project between the chamber, the Tenino Arts, and the Tenino Creve District. That will take place at the Kodiak Room November 25th through the 27th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that's been a great boon for bringing people into our community that support not just the event, but also shop and eat in our restaurants. And then on December 2nd, we're planning the Christmas tree lighting. That's a Friday night like normal. And that's the main things for that. It's Friday, December 2nd. And then from the Economic Development Council, they held a retreat last week. We're still waiting to get the report from our boss, what actually came out of that retreat. Did you attend that, Mayor? Yeah, so I think good reports that came out of that. And then again, we're putting our expo on. That's the 5-County Expo on December 1st at Great Wolf Lodge, 7:30 a.m. to around 3 p.m. And then from Steady, we had a great Steady meeting, and I thank council members for coming to that as well this last Friday, where we heard a broadband update by the Nisqually tribe and what the broadband action team is working on. And then also from Steve Dunk from Department of Commerce. And there's some follow-up from him that we want to know what the top 5 things that each one of the Steady communities want to accomplish in 2023. And we're going to bring him back and identify what are the current funding sources for that. And then that's the study report. And then the Arch Commission, you have the Arch update ordinance tonight. And if that passes, then our first meeting we're planning to do is November 17th at 4 p.m. here in the council chambers. I think that's it.
I had one thing to add. On December 2nd, after the tree lighting, we're having our chamber Christmas auction and party at the Eagles.
And the chairperson of the
Lots
auction
of
just
really
said that.
good auction items.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for George? Thank you, George. VCB. Do you have anything to report from the VCB? You should have all gotten an email
Yeah, I
from
sent-
Annette, or you sent the.
From Annette, and I also then sent it out to all of our study
That's
team
right.
too. The Annette has a survey out there right now that they want to get feedback, so it helps determine where they want to do marketing, public relations, and product development next year. So look for that survey. Hopefully each council member got it. If you didn't, let me know. They also are looking for feedback on the Bountiful Byway plan that they put together. They sent that out one more time for feedback to come in on that, if there's any changes or suggestion additions, and then they hope to adopt that on December 16th.
Thank you, sir. So check your emails for that from George regarding the VCB, please. Fire District 12.
Starting to look at the budget, otherwise not much else.
Thank you. Library not present. They'll probably be here in a little bit. Museum, we heard from them last meeting. Tenino Community Service Center, not present. Civil Service Commission. Facade Improvement Grant Review Committee.
We have 2 new applications, actually.
Yes, we
Tom
do.
Pogue,
I hounded them down.
that owns the mall where the Sandstone Cafe is and other businesses, wants to do some improvement in the front of that building, plus Classy Cuts. They've also applied, so.
Nice, thank you. Finance Committee meets tomorrow. Planning Commission, Public Safety Committee, Chief of Police. So you'll look in your packets, and we have it. Well, he did not turn one in. We're working on it. So I've asked the department heads and employees to turn in department reports, and even if they're not present, we want to start maintaining data and having some type of data sets. So, for example, Public Works Director, the things that are going on at Public Works, instead of them just coming in and kind of casually reporting, I'm asking them to just fill these out, and then we can keep an ongoing track of what's going on. And if they're not here, we can have it on record. So, Chief of Police did not present one, so we're still working on that with him. But he's in training the first 3 days of this week over in Wenatchee. He's doing, I want to say it's updates to defensive tactics and crisis intervention training. He said it's intense. They're working 10 hours a day every day. I caught him at lunch today and we chatted for a minute, but that is what he is working on. If you've seen them out heavy at football games, I think it's great. If you attended any of the sporting events, you'll see several officers there. That is excellent. If you attend a high school dance, you'll see them there leading like the cowboy shuffle or what. I don't know what they were dancing, but two of our officers are good dancers, and apparently they ended up on like TikTok dancing with all the high school students, which was cool. They'll be at Trunk or Treat on Saturday, so our officers are out in the community working. And they're also, fighting crime. They're not just dancing. So they're doing a good job. Director of Public Works, he has provided a written report. Thank you, Troy. The wastewater treatment plant septic receiving will start back up next week. The MBR filters are scheduled for replacement November 10th. The playground toys will be finished Friday with the install. Public Works Director Cannon has contacted 3 concrete companies to give us a bid on the curbs around the toys and the sidewalk. As soon as the concrete work gets done, then the soft will be installed and it'll be ready for play. Ritter Street is still on schedule, set to be completed by the end of November. The water line replacement on Ritter Street is 90% completed. They still have to do 2 more water connections, the 27th and the 31st is when these will be completed. Sussex Avenue water line replacement will begin this week as well. Thank you, Troy. That brings us to 7:30. So that ends the work session. Plug your ears, Linda. And brings us into the regular meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the October 25th, 2022 Tenino City Council meeting. Let the record show that all council members are present with the exception of Rachel Davidson. Would you please stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. Thank you. That brings us to the agenda for the 10/25/2022 meeting.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That brings us to the meeting's minutes for 10/11/2022.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to the consent calendar consisting of October 12th, 2022 through October 25th, 2022. Payroll EFTs in the amount of $45,645.78. Claims checks number 30947 through 30973. And EFTs in the amount of $57,618.56 for a grand total of $103,264.34, along with cannabis license, liquor license renewals for Pizza Mia's and Wright Brothers Cannabis, and also excusal of Councilmember Rachel Davidson, who is sick tonight.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as presented, as stated. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We have no executive sessions. We have no presentations tonight. That brings us to public comments. If there is anyone in the public that would like to provide comment, please come forward and do so at this time. You'll be given 3 minutes. Please state your name and address. Nope. Again, public comment period. If there's anyone that would like to provide public comment, now's your time to do so. Nobody is moving. Public hearings, we have none. Proclamations. We have a proclamation. I would like to ask Commander of Tenino VFW, Mike Shashi, and American Legion Commander for Tenino, Rick Boland, VFW Auxiliary President Heather Cumberworth, to please come to the lectern. You want to come up with me and read this? Oh, man. This is something that our newest council member, Miss Elaine Clam, spearheaded. So I want to thank her, and we will let her. Would you like to read it, or you want to read it with me? Okay, so you come right up here. You guys come on in. Here we go. How do we do this? Here, right here. All right. I will. Well, how are you guys doing? All right, right there. All right, I'll read this. By the City of Tenino, a proclamation, a Purple Heart City. Whereas the City of Tenino in the state of Washington has always supported its military veteran population, and whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in the present use and was initially created as the badge of military merit by General George Washington in 1782. And whereas the Purple Heart was the first American Service Award or decoration made available to the common soldier and is specifically awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. And whereas the mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart is to foster an environment of goodwill among the combat wounded veteran members and their families, promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, make sure we never forget. And whereas the city of Tenino has a large, highly decorated veteran population, including many Purple Heart recipients, and whereas Tenino appreciates the sacrifices our Purple Heart recipients made in defending our freedoms, and believe it is important that we acknowledge them for their courage and show them the honor and support they have earned. Now, therefore, Tenino City Council does hereby proclaim City of Tenino a Purple Heart City and encourage the citizens of Tenino to show their appreciation for the sacrifices of the Purple Heart recipients who have made in defending our freedoms, to acknowledge their courage and to show them the honor and support they have earned, signed in the city of Tenino, Washington, this 25th day of October, 2022.
She can't hear you. It's been in the
Elaine, make the motion to accept. Oh, yeah. Make the motion to accept.
I'd like to make a motion to accept this proclamation.
Second.
Now, you guys can stay there, and if you want to say anything, you guys can do that, or you can sit down. I'll call you guys to make remarks after. We have a motion to accept the proclamation of making Tenino a Purple Heart City. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
How many signs we're gonna need?
I don't know. Is
You guys know how many signs we're gonna need? The Purple Heart City signs?
if there is anyone, there's only like 4. Yeah. All right, but there's both ways. Do you do them in or just out? If there's anybody, any of our guests would like to make any remarks or any comments regarding the Purple Heart thing, you're welcome to do so at this time.
When this, the previous commander, Frank Hicks, told me that when this is all done at the department level, that you get 2 Purple Heart signs for the city.
Okay.
And each additional one is $40.
Oh,
That's not bad.
John will write a check.
Or at least 2 of them.
All right.
I use cash.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Elaine, for leading that. Next on the agenda, old business. We have none. New business. Bank account signer. In order to remove the previous employee, Kayleen Canup, from the City of Tenino bank accounts, we must approve removal in meeting minutes. We're asking the council to approve the removal of Kayleen Canup as authorized signer on all City of Tenino bank accounts. Should we then have a motion to
So moved.
add you? Or are you already on everything? Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the removal of Kayleen Canup as an authorized signature on all City of Tenino bank accounts. Is there any discussion?
Just for anybody watching, this is just housekeeping. This way we know who's signing and who's not supposed to be signing anymore. It's a normal function where we change employees.
Thank you, sir. Hearing no further, was there something else?
Well, I was just going to say that Kayleen does not work for the city anymore. That's why her name is being taken off.
Correct. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We have no resolutions. Ordinance 924. This is an ordinance of the City of Tenino amending Chapter 2.8, Arts, Recreation, Culture, and History, Arts Commission. I'd like to ask if Mr. George Sharp has any remarks he would like to make on Ordinance 924.
We made a couple of changes. One of it is that before it said just had to be a resident of the City of Tenino to be on the Arts Commission. We asked for it to be changed a resident and or a business owner so that we're able to add a business owner to the Arts Commission. That is the major change. Is there any other major change? We changed the dates to being twice a year and or upon called meeting times versus prescribed as October and April. That's the major changes.
Thank you, sir. So this will be the first reading of Ordinance 924, amending ordinance 923, chapter 2.80, Arts, Recreation, Culture, and History, Arch Commission, to the Tenino Municipal Code. It was originally adopted by the Tenino City Council February 22nd, 2022. I will read the first and the last. Whereas the city understands that additional amendments are necessary to Exhibit A to Ordinance 924, and therefore the City Council of the City of Tenino, Washington, do ordain as follows. Section 1 is the intent to amend Section 2.80. Last line, the Arch Commission shall meet at the call of the chairperson or a minimum of 2 times per year in person and or by electronic means. Do we have a motion?
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve this as the first reading of Ordinance 924, amending Ordinance 923. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? You will see this again on the next agenda for the second reading and approval. Thank you. That brings us back into reports. I will continue. The Director of Public Works. I think I finished that. Yes, I did. Code Enforcement Building Inspector. City Council Report, October 2022. Building Department. The Building Department has issued 58 permits year to date, 51 permits for residential, 7 permits for commercial. There are 8 commercial permits in review with BHC Consultants and 1 permit submitted on 10/17/2022 for a new residential dwelling located on Central Ave that the Building Department is reviewing. The Johnson and Maddox development located on Central Ave is slated to be complete by mid-November. To date, the Building Department has issued 4 certificates of occupancy within the remaining 6 homes, requiring a final inspection upon request from the contractor. Code Enforcement. Year to date, Code Enforcement has opened 30 cases for violations of Tenino Municipal Code and ordinances. 27 of the cases have been closed due to compliance, leaving 3 remaining open due to non-compliance. That's awesome. The City of Rainier has requested Code Enforcement, which has led to 10 abatement cases open from April through October for violations of Rainier Municipal Code and ordinances. 7 of these cases are still open with hopes to resolve by mid-November. Along with the municipal code violations, Code Enforcement has also received 38 citizen action requests that our officer has been addressing. Yep, he's working hard. Thank you. Park Specialist, you heard from her at the last meeting. City Attorney, no report. City Clerk Treasurer. Jen, did you do one of these?
I did.
Oh, you did.
Just so I could read it.
Oh,
I'll give it to you for your notebook later.
that's your notebook.
Story time.
Story time.
Story time. So working hard on budget and the ad valorem tax. I had a great meeting with the assessor's office in helping me with all that. The remaining rate study findings and final report will be coming very soon, as the mayor said. Attended a webinar about bars coding with some city hall staff last week. Super helpful. Submitting our first reimbursements for the playground for that funding. And another big exciting thing is we're having trick or treat at City Hall, so everybody bring your kids by. You know.
You had a thing yesterday,
Did I have a thing yesterday?
wasn't it? Yesterday with
Well,
the.
Oh, yes. I was like, yesterday was Monday. Yesterday we did an all-staff presentation with the AWC. They presented everyone with all of our benefits. We have a ton of new staff that has only worked here for, less than 2 years or so. And so it was good to get everybody kind of in the loop on what kind of benefits we all have. So it was 100% turnout other than the chief who was out of town, and we had 1 sick staff member. So that was good stuff.
Thank you. Any questions for the clerk treasurer?
Trick-or-treating at City Hall, yes, downstairs. On Halloween.
Any questions for Jen? The mayor, I have been busy as always. We've had a couple meetings with our engineering firm, EDC. We've had meetings with the city attorney. Today we had a meeting with city attorney, Department of Commerce, and EDC. regarding ag park, land, not procurement, but
Acquisition.
site, what is it? It's site ownership. So there was initially a lot of difficulty in ensuring that that site ownership was done right. So when you apply for a grant with like the Department of Commerce and you're going to do some construction on some public property, you have to have site control. That's the word I was looking for, with the recipient of the grant. So the EDC is put in for grants at the legislative level, which come from the Department of Commerce, and then the EDC has to show site control, but it's our property. So we did a couple times, and you guys remember we've done leases with the EDC where like for $1 a year, the EDC has control of our property in name, so that we can have a pass through for the funds. And now it's getting a little weird because we've done the plat, that we've done those kind of subdivisions within there, and then some of those plats would get released to the city from the EDC so that the private entity can get funding to build their building. We're getting to the point where it's beyond Wayne's understanding. Like I'm trying to keep up, but these things are moving fast. And so today we met with the Department of Commerce, and they took a step back. And sometimes when you like first get in with an agency, you're dealing with like people at like middle level, and you just no, you can only do it this way, and every box has to be checked. The higher you get up, they're like, well, down below they said that you had to have this. Now they're allowing us to not requiring a lease. They're like, just have a covenant. And so we have attorneys write up the covenances that say that this property has to remain, in use of the ag park. And so we had a very good meeting today, and there were some anxiety levels that just kind of dropped down. So that was good. I've been going to the playground and checking on progress. Very happy with where they're at. The large dome structure is up, so if you get a chance to go by there, it's really cool. It's huge, yeah, and it's really, really neat. So we're seeing that go forward, and we're planning out some of the next steps, as you heard from in the Public Works Director report. All of our projects are keeping us very busy. I'm continuing to meet with some of our partners to talk about other ways that we can bring in resources to further our goals. Had a great meeting with the county commission chair last week. The county commission, they have about $2 million that they want to spend on trails. And we, of course, are like, we want trails. We love trails. But we did that feasibility study, and I guess some of the planners at the county were like looking at what does it cost to go from Tenino all the way to Bucota? $1.8 million. That's not enough. We don't have enough. And so I brought them down here, brought one of their planners down here, brought Commissioner Mejia down here, and I was like, look, we've got the railroad bed extending from our park out to Crowder. Like, I'm not asking you to pave all the way to Bucota right now. I'm just asking you to pave out to the end of the city. And you make progress with these trails in increments. Sometimes it's a half a mile, sometimes it's 100 yards. But as long as you're marching it forward, and when they got down there and they saw what we were asking, they were like, oh yeah, we can. This is shovel ready. We can do this. And so I've gotten some assurances that is going to be in the county's plans for trails in the next year, where they would be continuing the trail. And I'm hoping, and if you go out there, you'll see where it ends, like right by the museum, and then it goes to unpaved, and it's still a nice trail because it's on the railroad bed. But the railroad bed it continues behind Public Works, and so the Public Works shop, we have a lot of runners that it gets real sketchy for them when they get onto Crowder Road and they're going around that big curve.
Right.
That's not a good place to be on the road. So I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to try to get it to where they pave as far as possible and continue behind the Public Works shop so that our trail runners and bicyclists, whatever, can get around that curve before they get onto Crowder Road, and it's a lot safer.
So then it would be from there,
Yep. And in the feasibility study, that's what happens, is there's not an it goes from a separate trail to like an on the road or next to the road bike trail.
Okay.
And that's something they'd continue in later phases. We submitted those grants for the rural transportation alternative dollars and for the STBG funds to do our design phase of the West Trail annexation. We were the only ones to submit anything. And so we asked for like $260,000 to do this design phase. And there was something like, there's like 300 available. So we're very confident in that request. And then the paving money for Old 99, we are very competitive in that, and some of the other organizations that would have been eligible for it, they didn't apply for that either. So we are sitting very good for those dollars that are going to be coming in next year to build the following year. So we're happy with that. I think that's about it. Any questions for me?
I don't think so. We did hear something interesting at Steady the other day from the Department of Commerce, that the county is going to be getting $700,000 of funds from somewhere, and each city is going to be getting $100,000 for growth management.
Okay.
Yeah.
For help with our comp plan update.
With our comp plan, yeah.
Also, working with the county commissioners on on the county's legislative plan and legislative wish list, and we are asking that they work with us to secure ag park funding and funding for meat processing. So that's something that we're staying on top of. We got a couple more things. We'll get back to public comment. Is that okay when we?
I just want to make something really brief. I'm working with them on the street over here. They're on my lot,
Yes.
and I'm working with them, and it'll be fine. Another thing too, I want to mention about the POW, that's not just the signs, but there's people that, like for instance, if you go to Centralia, come to the park there, that bridge was dedicated to a lady that was killed in Iraq. She was a sergeant. So I mean, there's not going to be just signs. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. So that's my report. Be that.
Yeah, they have their annual
Have a good night, Tom.
Be That survey. If you go to their Facebook page, or if you want to send me an email, I can link it to you guys.
Thank you, sir.
And then also this Saturday is the drug take back at the police station.
Department?
Yeah, from 10 to 2.
It's a huge sign.
Yeah.
I like that. Solid waste.
Next week.
Thank you. TCOM, no report. Tenino School Board, Rachel is not here, and neither is Jessica. TRPC,
Next month, first week.
Transportation Policy Board.
At this last one, there's a major report they've been working on for a few years about the Martin Way corridor, and they kept saying affordable housing, but nobody ever tells you what affordable housing is. Banks will, so I brought that up. I just got sick and tired of hearing affordable housing without a real understanding of what that means. When you go get a mortgage, they have to decide whether you can actually afford to buy that house, quote unquote affordable housing. It's based off of your income and a certain percentage. As long as what you bring in doesn't exceed a percentage of what you take home, they'll say okay to that loan as long as your credit is okay and stuff like that. But on a government basis, we don't do that. We just say affordable housing without any kind of real definition to it. I brought this up at our meeting, and I didn't just say complain about affordable housing, the use of the terms, but I also brought up the part what the banks do, and the room just went silent, and then it moved on. But that was my 2 cents worth. I figured I'd go ahead and let you guys know what I did there.
Thank you, sir. Legislature is not in session yet. How much longer you got?
Pretty soon. I'm looking forward to it. We got our schedules already. I start probably right after New Year's.
Awesome. I had a meeting with Representative Barno about some of our legislative goals, and he had some very encouraging words, and we should be working on some requests here in the next 2-3 weeks, which I will keep you all apprised of.
We've got some good representation, the 20th does,
Yes.
in Olympia.
That brings us to public comment period number 2. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to provide public comment, now is your opportunity to do so. You'll be given 3 minutes. State your name and address, please. Going, gone. That brings us to announcements. If there's anyone that would like to make an announcement,
You just want to say that PTA is doing trunk or treat this Saturday,
go for it.
Parkside?
Go for it.
I'm just saying it.
Jen's got an announcement for everyone.
I'm just trying to share for the school. This Saturday,
Is it on?
this
Is the green light
Saturday
on?
is the PTA's trunk or treat.
Trunk or treat.
You got
Thank
that,
you.
Dan? I couldn't tell you what time it is. It's at Parkside on Central Avenue.
We're having one at noon on Main Street in Bucota also.
Okay.
Cool.
Bucota, Main Street.
Boo
noon.
Coda all month.
Bucota. I'm so sorry.
Any other announcements for the good of the order?
Here for the Tenino football team, league champions.
Absolutely. Tenino Beavers are killing it, and they play Rochester this Friday. It's a non-league game. Is it here or in Rochester? It's in Rochester. The Battle of Scatter. Yeah.
Yeah, we got one more.
And not only post league, right?
Yeah, it's non-league.
Yeah, but we will have some more home games when it goes into playoffs.
Host the first crossover game because they're the number 1 seed from the.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
Tenino High School senior night girls soccer Saturday night, 7 o'clock.
Excellent.
Yeah,
You're welcome. Yeah.
Tenino High School choir concert this Thursday night at 7 o'clock.
You singing in it?
No, my great-granddaughter is, though.
Aw. All right. Meeting adjourned.